My name is Victor, and I am recording this because I'm applying for this role, a junior developer at Pasapal. Yeah, so let me take you through what I have done and the requirements that I was able to meet. So the challenge is to create an Rdbms and then a shell where I can input SQL-like commands to do the same. So here is the repo. Let me just open it well. And the repo is structured in 3 different parts. So there is the Rdbms itself, then there is an API, that is a REST API, and then there is a UI for the same, just to demo what has happened in there. So I will also structure this video into 3 parts. So the first part is to showcase the shell, then the next part will be to showcase the API and how we are able to use the SQLite commands to get data from the database and then relay the data into the UI. Then the last part is just to showcase the UI. I will also attach a screenshot of the UI, how it looks like, in the first part of this video. So yes, so stick around. Let's now open the terminal in the same directory where there is those things. So I will open VS Code just to show you how it looks like. So as you have seen, this is the API, Rdbms, and then the demo. So this is a test to show you how everything will be running. So let me begin by running this inside the Rdbms. So go back to the terminal and then just see where we are at. Then we want to get into here, so cd into the server Rdbms. Then now we can run the function python main.py. So now you realize that we are welcomed to the shell, and then it says Moasia Rdbms. So now we can start by doing the tests that are written in the test file. So let us begin by creating a table called students. So before I do that, this is what happens. So I have this file called data. You realize at the moment there are some things bad. Let us clear everything so that I show you what we are able to do without this. So this is just the same as deleting a database, but I chose to make mine easier, so for testing it will be easier. So now you can see that data is empty. So let us do this. Create table students. So we just paste that as it is, and then it says table students created successfully. So let me show you what happened. So now when you go back and the same folder that was data, you see there is schema.json. So what is happening is we have created, let us go back to this command, create table students id, that is an integer, then make it a primary key, then there is a name, that is a text, and then there is a grade, that is an integer. So in the schema we have students, the columns, that is the id, the name, and the grade, and then there is the corresponding type attached to it. There's also a primary key that we have set it, which is the id. Then we have to create a column order. I will show you why we need it much later. And then there is students.json. At the moment it just says rows and then empty. So this is the storage file where we have like the table students. So let's go to the next thing. I want us to insert something into that table. So insert into students that. So inserted one row into students. So when you go back to student.json, you realize that it has written this data. So sorry about that. Let's go back to this test. We can also, let's just do this second insert. I will show you why we are doing it. So now we want to see if we can select. Now the first thing we have done is we have created a table. We are able to insert something to the table. Now let's query something from the table. So let's get everything from students. You see now that it has returned these 2 tables with the data associated. So let us move to the next thing. Let us move to update. So at the moment, this student has an sorry about that. This student has age 85. Let us grade 85, that is. Let us go and update that to 95. It says 85 here. So now updated successfully. When we go back, let us see what happens. You see that now Alice is 95 and no longer 85 as was before. Awesome. So that is update. So create, read, update. So the last thing is delete. So the second student that we had looking at this database is Bob. So now we want to delete Bob from this. So go back to the terminal, press this command, deleted one row from students. So when you go back to students, you realize that we have successfully deleted Bob. Awesome. What is the next test in this? We want to create another table and perform a join. So let's make it very easy. Create a table. We have already seen create work before successfully. Insert, we have already seen an insert, so we just do that as fast as we can. Awesome. Then let's do this and see what happens now. So at the moment there is none that match this, but this is an actual join, and we will see a better example within the API. Sorry about that, it keeps exiting, but we can just do a normal exit. We'll for a short break. So the next thing is the API. So but before that, I want to show the architecture for the Rdbms. So this is how it looks like. The rectangles just shows the folders, and then there's a short description of the same, and then it also shows the data flow through everything. So the interactive shell is in the folder REAPL. So let's open it. So this is where you just input your commands, they're received in the terminal. Then from there we have the SQL parser. So this is just to compare and look at the syntax and just make sure that this is the syntax that we are accepting in our system. Let's say create table, users, that kind of syntax. That's where we have the parser. Then after that, data flows into the executor. So the executor is just to maybe call the storage to create the table, or just to do validation. Let's say check that the file exists, the table exists, that is. Then we have the catalog. So you remember in data where we said we have a schema, so schema.json, we have courses, and then we have the column order. So this is where we do schema management inside the catalog. And then storage. So this is just to make a write update into the file structure. So where we have courses.json, where we are writing the values that are inputted during insert statements. Awesome. So now that we're done with that, I will show you how the API looks. But just before moving on, we have server.py. So the reason that we have this is just to expose the endpoint, or the place. This is just replace the CLI so that the system can be able to automatically write into the database, because we cannot manually input things using the CLI while you're using an API. So this is just to replace the manual work of writing into the CLI, but it does and follows the same process. Awesome. So the API. So how are we interacting with the database? So we are using config. So when you launch your Flask API, so this is what happens. You use SQLite statements just as you would in any other database, like an SQLite database, Postgres, the same way. So you create users, you create roles, you create permissions, role permissions, products. things like this, and then you are able to input default roles and default permissions. So that's what is happening inside config. Then after now we initialize it, how are we able to access it through the other routes? So that's why we have services and then database.py. So this is where everything runs. So when you say execute query, what it does is checks the base URL. So that is, you can input it via the .env. So that is that's self.base URL. This is where you have it. Then you can import it from here. Then also you can check .env. So by default it's via port 2500. That's what I put. And then after that you just have the other basic commands to interact with the database. So after you initialize the database, there's insert, select, update, delete, just those basic commands. Then after that, in this our Flask, we have the routes. So we have a products route where we just check if someone is authenticated, and then we check which roles they have to do a certain action. So we have get product by ID, just the normal CRUD operations that you would normally do in any other thing. Then we also have users, that is also another route. Awesome. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to test the UI. But to do that, we have to run the CDA just to make sure that our database has the data that we need. So let me come to the Rdbms data, then clear some things that I just did in test before. Let's just delete all of that, move to trash. Awesome. So you can now test and see that inside data it's empty. So what we're going to do is we are going to start the API. After starting the API, we're going to start the database as well. So this is what we're going to do inside our Rdbms. We're going to run python server.py. Awesome, it's running on port 2500. Then we're going to start the API. We're just going to run python run.py. Awesome, it's running on port 3500. Now we are going to seed the database. So we can run python seed.py. Awesome, you can see it's passing all things that we have set for it to do. So it's set up an admin, and then it has given us the password and anything to go and test. So these are the credentials we're going to use to test the UI. So let us open another place so we can test the UI. So ls cd backwards just to see where we are at. Then we want to test the UI. So cd rdbms demo, and let's just say npm run dev. So let me copy all of this, just go over to login. So go come here, and then this auth login. So here it is. So what we will do is we will see what we have seeded our database with, and then use that. So we have a username that is superadmin, pass superadmin, and password admin123 exclamation, a good password, and then authenticate and connect. So this is just a simple database, a simple UI that shows what has been done there. So you remember where we said in the API that we have done joins. So when you look at this page, you're able to see that you're able to get products, and then via the categories and the price for the same. So we're able to query the database through the API that we created. So let me show you inside the API what we're using to get that. So we have an analytics page where you're able to get insights and everything that you need in relation. So you're able to get the number of users, get which users created which roles, which users created which products, such kind of things. And then we're also able to see products. We can see how many there are, and then we are able to, let's say we will add a product, then let's call it iPhone. Sorry, my iPhone 17 Pro. Let's import that as this description as well. Then let's put 100, let's say forms, and then 100 of them are in stock. Let's say create product. It's already created automatically. Then you realize that there is no page 2, so you're able to see that it's here. Then you can also update this anything that is needed for the same. So if we do update and we say only 10 are in stock, we are able to do that. And then when we go back to the dashboard, yes, we can see that it was added. iPhone 17 Pro recently added. That is the activity stream for the same. Now because we are logged in as a super admin, we are also able to check and see which users are in our database, and we can also change the action for them. So let's say this is a viewer, we can make them a manager, and it's already updated successfully, and here it is. If you want to confirm that, just inspect that, go to network and see what is happening. We can make that person an admin. Automatically it's done, so you can see the payload. We're passing whatever this person we're editing, and then we get the users once more, then that's done. Yes, so that is it for my Rdbms. It was a really good challenge. I enjoyed it. To give credits, I will share some YouTube videos that I followed to understand deeper relational management databases. And then I also used AI in this code. I used DeepSeek to gain some understanding on some queries that needed to be faster, let's say to index and to do the basic manipulation of read and write to a file like in Python. So yes, thank you for this. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.